Hey everybody! So here we are on the second live chat in the history of this channel, back in this lovely location, and wow, it is different looking out here because the last one was actually all the way back in winter. So now it is gorgeous summertime and everything is lush and green and just really beautiful out here. So hi everybody, I hope you're all doing very well. I hope everybody's still safe as we enter like a second phase of this virus. And I just can't get good lighting. What is going on? I thought being outside I would get good lighting, but it looks like being so bright out here, it's difficult to see a thing. So we've got lots. And Nectali Cortez says hi. I hope I didn't just butcher that name. So in further news for the channel, we've had some very successful stories like Desperate Measures, and all of the My Hero Academia stuff has been great. So due to the rise of Hamilton, basically because it came on Disney Plus and everybody's kind of gone apes over it, that's going to be one of the next stories we're going to do. First, we have a Narnian one called Carpetbaggers, which I hope you all appreciate because those chapters were a massive pain to record because several of them are 2 hours long. And I'm just like, no, I'm never putting myself through that ever again. So we've got that, and then after that we have a story from Hamilton, which takes place in Valley Forge. So that one's going to be very interesting, and that one was actually a lot of fun to record because the language is very different. It's very more old-timey, so it was a lot of fun to get my tongue around these more interesting phrases and sentences because people don't write that way anymore unless you're writing for that time period, which this person did very well. And then after that, we have another Naruto story coming called Reverse from my favorite author of all time on fanfiction, probably, except for maybe Josephine Darcy, who wrote The Marriage Stone, Black K-Cat, called Reverse. And I'm just going to have a time recording that one because I really love her author stuff. And Tina Garcia says, I really love hearing you read. So thank you very much. I very much enjoy it. I've actually gotten a lot better in recent years. It's interesting going back and listening to my work and seeing how much better it's gotten over the course of time. I'm very much better at maintaining character voices. Like I can pick a voice and stick to it. And I have more character voices and a bigger repertoire than I've ever had in the past. I actually tend to label the voices as the character that started them, like the voice that goes from a high pitch to a low pitch constantly over the course of a sentence is labeled Severus Snape. And I Love Masky White says, how are you? I'm fine. I am enjoying a bit of freedom as my daughter hangs out with her dad today, which is why we're going live now, where I don't have a little ankle biter. She loves running around in this giant yard. It was a godsend while we were in quarantine because she had all this space to run around and we didn't feel trapped or captured at all. We also had the really good company. And it was just actually quarantine was a wonderful time for us because we had all of our extended family around, all of her aunts and her grandparents. And it was just a wonderful time. And Miss T. Banks, yes, I do have a daughter. I'm actually 26. I actually had her when I was 24, I do believe, if I'm doing the math correctly in my head, and don't quote me on that because I have terrible math skills. But they're a joy. They're such a joy. She's so adorable. And actually, she has been having so much fun out here lately. Like, we have a little pink pool out here that she likes to play in sometimes, right there in the background, if you can see that. And we have deer and robins that come visit us really frequently, and she likes to chase them all over the yard. And we have lots of different animals and interesting critters that like to hang out, one of which is snakes! Yikes! Like, okay, chipmunks and everything, great. Snakes, not so much. I mean, yikes. I don't know if any of you have ever been bitten by a snake, especially a big snake, but it is not fun. Our snakes here, though, are pretty small. So I actually have a bit of news for everybody. Just not something big, more kind of like a little bit of self-promotion, because I'm a sucker for that. And here we're just walking through the garage. So, oh, the shadow is actually giving us some better lighting. I really need to get better at taking videos, but I work so much without ever taking a video that, like, what would be the point in taking video when I never, ever, ever use it? It's like, what's the point? So one thing that I made about in the community section is that I like to crochet. We'll go in there later because apparently somebody is in there. My parents are doing giant reorganizing of the house right now because A, we're getting our kitchen fixed, and B, my mom just hates all the clutter that happens in the house. So, if anybody has any questions for me, like related to fandom or just life in general, you feel free to ask them. And I agree with you, Miss T-Banks, I do not like snakes either, at all. So, this is where me and my daughter live. I think I showed it off to you guys last time. But the main thing I wanted to show you right now is the projects I've been working on, because I am making these available for sale. And Tina Garcia says, crocheting is so fun and relaxing. And yes, it is. It also produces some really cool stuff. Like these nice washcloths that I love to make, because washcloths just to try out different patterns. And Jessica Paramore says, hi, with additional eyes. So, oh, and Jessica Paramore is a Slytherin. It appears that she says I'm a Slytherin, which actually brings me to my next point. My next project is actually going to be some Hogwarts gear. I wanted to try putting a quote into a piece of crochet. I have a best friend who is a Slytherin, and she, A, loves the color purple, B, is very proud of her Slytherin heritage, even though she's never actually read most of the books, which I kind of find stupidly hilarious. She's just big into the psychology of the houses, so it is very, very, very amusing to me, who has read the book several times. Like, I had read the fourth book of Harry Potter 14 times by the time I was 14. That's how much I loved those books. So, I am a Ravenclaw, as I think I've probably said many times. But what I wanted to do is start making Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw products that had inspirational quotes in them, and I can make them custom, like put your name in them or take a quote from you, and also put like a profile of the lion or the badger in the product. And Miss T Banks says she likes making pillows and dolls. So I don't actually like making products that I have to stuff later because I don't have a whole lot of stuffing. I'd like to make flatter things. And Jessica Paramore says, I'm like Harry and I chose Slytherin, not Gryffindor. I wasn't aware we could choose our houses. I was under the impression we just took a quiz and that's what we got. But honestly, I am perfectly happy being a Ravenclaw because that is exactly what I am, which is an unending and boundless curiosity that sometimes creeps people the heck out. Part and parcel of having Asperger's syndrome, which means I am very, very passionate about one thing. And sometimes that goes crazy. As in, I know way more about something than most people would do. But another thing I have said in the past is that I am a very proud Catholic. And because of that, I developed a pattern for tiny rosaries. There are 10 beads on this. And then there's a little, let me see if I can get this to behave. There's a little baby cross right there on the end. So it's very soft and squishy, and it's made out of what I call baby yarn, which is very thin yarn that is very soft. So it's fun to hold in your hand and then squeeze, and you can fall asleep with it. I also make them in adult sizes if there are any adult Catholics in the crowd. And thank you, someone just gave me a recommendation, and I've got to say, I am reading a lot of Harry Potter, especially Slash, trying to find a decent dreary or snary story, and it is very hard because they're not very good. Not many people actually write decent Slash that I would want to record for you guys, because I do have standards about what I will record for you. So I have to weed through a lot of dross to find anything interesting. And Jessica Paramore says, I know a lot of good ones. If you could comment those or like send me a couple links, because that would be wonderful, because I am so tired of weeding through all the dross trying to find something decent. One that was recently given to me was, I think, called Love Potion Class. And it looked promising at first glance, and then I started reading it, and the first chapter was just one solid paragraph. This person did not know how to write. And as I went further and further and further into the story, they did not have a cohesive storyline, and it was going all over the place. They had entire poems copied and pasted into their chapters without really incorporating it extremely well. So as much as I would like to read that one, because it was recommended by somebody, I can't in good faith record that for you guys, because A, poetry is meant to be looked at, not read. And I know this because I am a poet and I have taught poetry classes to some people, and I love to write things in poetry, but they are really meant to be looked at and studied that way, not necessarily read out loud to somebody who's going to listen to that as if it were prose. And Jessica Paramore says Black Truth is finished and, well, really long for each chapter. That's actually a detriment, because long chapters take a really long time to record. And sometimes my daughter only sleeps for an hour at a time. So if I only have an hour to do everything on my to-do list, which is like take a shower, clean the house, work on the laundry, get a chapter recorded, edit that chapter, work on cross stitch, work on crochet, do orders for people, make birthday presents. If I only have an hour to do that in a really long chapter, then I end up recording like a chapter a week, and it sets me back massively, which is why I did Fate Likes to Play, because A, I wrote that, and B, it has short chapters, which is kind of the important part for me, because I just wanted something short. And it looks like there's a bit of a conversation going on in the comments about where to find a certain story. And yeah, guys, go check that out. Oh, Jessica just said that the story you guys are talking about is on Wattpad. I actually don't know how to operate that. I've never been able to get in there. And I'm especially shy of apps because it's difficult to read off of a tiny screen. I've tried that before. I actually had one point had to hide in a room with my phone and my tiny recorder device that I was using at the time and record stories that way. And it was worse quality than it usually is because I had to pause so often. So do you guys want to see any more of the things that I crochet, or should we go back outside? Because I have lots of goodies here, like this little earbud case. So basically, here's the front, and it has a strap that you can clip things onto with a carabinier, and then they fit in the back because it's a two-sided back. So you slip your cord in there along with your device, and then your earbuds come right out through the slit, and you can put them in your ears. Also, I'm planning on making these in house colors if anybody would like one. So if you would like one, I have an Etsy shop and you can go on there. There should be a link to it somewhere in the community section of the channel. And I might also see if I can put a discount in there, or a discount code for people who see it through the channel. There's also lots of other little stuff I like to work on. One thing being, I actually am one of those crazy old people who likes to do embroidery, but my embroidery is more about making pictures. So this is actually hand stitched, and it is a picture of the Lower Falls at Yellowstone National Park. This took me about 2 years to do because That is probably over 2,000 individual stitches. That's a lot of sewing and a lot of time. But it's a really beautiful piece, and I love making these. Right now I'm actually making a picture of Saint Kateri Tekakwitha for my daughter because that's her name saint, and we actually celebrated that a couple days ago, Saint Kateri's feast day for my little baby Kateri. We made what looks like a bunch of water lilies on a cake, which was actually meringue cookies on a giant sugar cookie. And guess who had to make that? Someone asked if I would do more James and Q fanfics. That comes from Diana. And I don't know. I am not a giant James Bond fan. The only reason I read that one in the first place is my husband was a giant James Bond fan and forced me to watch a lot of the movies, and I kind of cracked under the pressure and I went and found some Slash. I really love young Q. He's one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise. Because I'm sorry, I don't like a lot of the Bonds. They don't hit it off for me. But I do actually like that dynamic between them. That one I read in particular for you guys was a lot of fun. So if you guys want more of that, feel free to link some to me, and I will also just go and read some more, because actually it's been a while since I went to that fandom. Maybe I should go back there and check more out. And I think Miss T Banks requested I show you some more things, and I think Oogly Boogly said, please, with many Z's. What are you wanting? More James Bond? So I have a giant box of things I have made. So I'm going digging. Oh, here's something fun. This is actually an iPhone case. It's made of 2 giant squares sewn together with a very fun color design. And ooh, do you guys think this would look good in Hogwarts colors? Like bronze and blue or green and silver? Because that would be an interesting color combo. What do you guys think? Would that look good as a Hogwarts thing? This is actually something really pretty, but my favorite thing about it is how soft it is. It is an old hat. It's a hat that is meant to look really lacy. And guess what this is made out of? It's not actually cotton or anything. This is made out of bamboo. It's a bamboo yarn that is very, very soft and very malleable. I actually made this one too big, so I don't know who's gonna wear this ever. But I'm just going to see what else I got. Most of what I have in here is actually big crocheted washcloths before, because I went on a huge kick where I was only making washcloths. I had a big book full of patterns, but some of them look pretty cool, like this one, because it's got a interesting pattern on it. And I just have fun discovering different patterns, because once I learned how to do a pattern, I can put it in something bigger, like a scarf or a prayer shawl or a blanket. And actually, I'm going to make something big for my mom that I think is going to involve several of these patterns. And Miss T Banks says, I embroider too. What kind of embroidery do you do? I am mostly just cross stitch, because it's very systematic and requires following a specific thing. And I Love Masky White asks, what panda will wear it or eats? I don't know. It's probably not good for pandas. It's probably been treated within an inch of its life to be that soft. And I don't know. I don't know if that would be good for pandas, but I really wouldn't want to give it to a panda because it took so long to make. These things, most of those things are not easy to make. The little earbud, the blue earbud shoulder holder that I showed you is 4 individual pieces that I had to sew together after it was actually made. Not to mention the carabiner clip, which I don't actually have very many of. I might have to go and buy some more if you guys would actually like some of those. So let's see if we can go back outside now. And this would be the time if anybody has any fandom questions, whether that be what Hamilton character is my favorite, because I am over the moon that I finally got to watch that musical, and I'm so on a Hamilton high right now. My entire family actually watched the musical with me, and they all have their favorite songs and what they like to listen to the most. Surprisingly, everybody's favorite song is "You'll Be Back" from King George. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Hamilton animatics online. You will be able to basically see the entire musical through animatics. And Alexandra Lux Beteta, if you are just joining us, please hang around for a little longer and check the channel out. And she says, I love that song, You'll Be Back. My favorite songs personally are Guns and Ships from the first act, and oh, come on, It's Quiet Uptown from the second act. Guns and Ships because it is the fastest rap in all of musical history. I am not kidding you guys. Somebody actually looked at how fast those words are said. It's something like 6 words per second. I've been trying to sing it, and I can't sing the really fast part. It's too difficult for my mouth to get around. I can sing some of the second part, but it's tricky. Like, my goodness, some of those words are difficult. And oh, I'm gonna move. I found my family accidentally having lunch outside, so I'm just gonna walk away because I don't think you want to see them in the background. Or maybe they don't want to appear in the background, because I don't know. I did warn them I would be doing this today, so it's kind of an onus on me to keep things private. I mean, if they wanted to appear in the background, I probably would let them. I mean, they're great people, but they probably don't want to be. So, for those of you who have seen Hamilton so far, what is your favorite song? And for those of you who haven't, I highly recommend at least looking up some of the music online. And if you have a Disney Plus subscription where it is, please go watch it, because it is a fabulous historical retelling of a story that does not get told very often, and I highly recommend you go watch it. Another thing that I've recently fallen down the rabbit hole into is the series Turn on Netflix, which is again about Revolutionary War. It is the story of America's first spy. And I fully blame my sister for getting me into that, because okay, so here's a bit of explanation. I have 4 younger sisters, and the sister who got me into Turn is the oldest of those sisters. So I called her my oldest younger sister, told me about it, and then I fell down the rabbit hole for a couple of weeks. It was a long series, and kind of hated season 1. Like, too much drama, too much relationship drama, too much sex. And then we got to the good parts in 2, 3, and definitely 4. 4 is my favorite. So if you're not into relationship drama, but you are into espionage, and you have a Netflix account, which I think most people, I would definitely go check it out. And Miss T. Banks says she kind of does an interesting interpretation of embroidery. That would be interesting for me to watch. I mean, like, interesting to see some of your work. And Jessica Paramore has given a list of the different ships that she likes, one of which is Pansmini. I have never seen that. I didn't even know that existed. Seriously? That's there? I don't know if I would actually like that. I mean, I've seen some interpretations of Pansy that are good. Like, Pansy in 12 Days is hilarious. And Pansy in Desperate Measures is also good. But then, of course, you do have the actual Pansy of the books. Oh, am I saying that wrong, Jessica? I'm sorry. I just saw the double R and thought rolling it. And I know some of you don't like the way I do certain characters, especially the fact that I give Pansy a southern accent. But again, I actually have more voices for boys than I do for girls. So sometimes I have to put an interesting spin on a girl's voice in order to make her stand out. Hermione already had the British accent, and I didn't know exactly how I was going to do Pansy. So she ended up with a southern belle, which actually it was very useful because I had to use that recently for an entire group of people from a different country, and the only way I remembered my southern accent was by remembering how I'd done Pansy. You'll see that in the Narnian story if you care to listen to that. If you have not read Narnia, it is one of the best book series, and I grew up with it, so I am a big Narnia girl. I love Narnia so much. It was one of the first fantasy series I ever read, which was big for me because I am an entire fantasy junkie. I love anything to do with dragons, especially. But this story is a very unique one, and it is a very good one. So I would definitely at least read some of the books, or watch, at the very least, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which I do believe is on Disney Plus, and you can probably also purchase it or rent it on several different places. But it is one of the best movies I have ever seen for a book-to-movie translation, and several of the battle scenes in particular are my favorite battle scenes in all of cinema, not because they're filmed expertly or they're especially bloody, but because of how they use strategy. And you would know that later. Oh, and it looks like the Jessica with the last name that I was butchering changed her name to Moonfire. And Nectali Cortez asks, have you watched Avatar: The Last Airbender? Yes, I have seen that. I actually saw that before it was cool. I saw it when I was 12 years old, and we have never forgotten it. For a family where one of us likes war, one of us likes fantasy, one of us likes comedy, and one of us likes cartoons, that was the one thing we could all agree on. We would get it from the library disc by disc and beg my mom to go pick them up when we finally got them to the library. So we loved that for years. And I have been reading a lot of that fan fiction as well, trying to find something I would record, because I want to get my siblings in on it and see if I found a short one-shot, if they would do it with me and play some different characters, like get one of my sisters to play Toph and another to play Katara, and maybe my brother to play Zuko, but that one probably wouldn't work because he lives in a different location. But if there's anything everybody would do, it would be Avatar. Speaking of them, I hope you guys enjoyed the last chapter of Canary, where I did in fact have 3 of my sisters singing with me. They helped me with the concert scene, and that recording session was a lot of fun because we kind of got to laugh and experiment with my software and my microphone and figure out how to make this sound really good. So that was a lot of fun, and I'm sorry, I'm just basically rambling because I haven't seen any questions or anything. But if there's anything you guys would like to ask me about any fandoms, or how we've been handling the whole COVID situation, or the future of the channel, or even just general life questions, feel free to. I'm just going to keep rambling because apparently that's what I'm doing right now. You can tell I'm not used to doing this. Have I seen the Saw movies? I've never even heard of those. I have no idea what those are. So no, I have not seen those. As Alexandra asks, have I ever had any pets? I've had several cats go through my household. Right now we have a pair called Mary and Pippin from The Hobbits. Yes, from Lord of the Rings. We've also had chickens and ducks who we raised for eggs and didn't get much. I've had siblings have snakes and geckos and fish, I think, at one point. Yeah, we definitely had fish at one point. So we've had some pets, but we've never had a dog, which was kind of what we all wanted. And we always wanted a horse. That was one thing we always wanted. So actually, the first time we moved, it was to a big property with a barn and a corral. And we thought, yes, this is our chance to have a horse. Nope, didn't happen. I Love Masky White asks, how am I doing with COVID so far? Honestly, the biggest thing that has happened to me is that my workplace closed down temporarily. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the kid resort water park chain, Great Wolf Lodge, but I work there as a housekeeper, meaning I'm the one who cleans the rooms after guests have left. And during COVID, they actually actually shut all the way down all of their resorts. They've opened up again at a limited capacity, but they still have not hired me back because they don't need me yet. So hopefully I will get back there. But as of right now, that is the only giant change that I've had to go through with COVID, which I'm very lucky. Like, no one in my family has gotten it. Nobody in my family has died. Everybody's doing pretty well, very safe. And for a time, it was really awesome because, like, my mom was cooking really interesting stuff because she was stuck at home. My dad was here, and that was the time when he really started to bond with my daughter, and that was so cute. I got to watch that relationship develop, and that was so wonderful to watch them grow together because I love my dad to bits, but she was terrified of him for the longest time because he is a prankster and a jokester, so he does weird smiles and weird voices, and that always freaks out little kids. But finally, like, he started to be gentler with her, and she started to love him back, so that was quite adorable to watch, and it only happened because he was stuck working from home. They don't see each other as much these days, especially since on weekends, on Saturdays, she's gone for hours with her daddy. So that was basically the extent of my COVID experience so far. I think the worst thing that's coming out of COVID is everybody's posts about it. Like, I gave up Facebook for a while. I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't want to see all the political things being slung around and people debating whether or not it actually existed and whether we should take oppressive anything. So I just took a step back from basically the entire outside world because I didn't like the way it was handling this. Like, we can't take a little inconvenience to protect the people we love. I'm sorry, I can't get behind that. Like, we should be able to take a little inconvenience to protect other people. It's not a big hardship. But on other subjects, let's see. Right now, a couple of my family members are going backpacking, which is, have you been reading any good book or fanfic from Carmona? And actually right now, no, I haven't. I started reading Reverse today by Black K Cat and recording that, and I always love going back to Black K Cat's works because she is actually the one who taught me how to write good action scenes. She's brilliant at that, which is probably why she chose Naruto, because Naruto is just laden with action. I mean, you have fights that are like 15 episodes long, and they're not like Yu-Gi-Oh fights where they're just people playing cards. They're actual combat. And I feel a lot of people are commenting on siblings down in the comments. I have 5 siblings, 1 brother and 4 sisters, the oldest of which is 28, the youngest of which is 13. I don't know and someone asked story of Indiana Jones. I actually don't read that one. I haven't watched any Indiana Jones. It's not my cup of tea. I did have a passing interest in it when I was young because my dad would watch them, and then we'd all end up in the living room watching whatever because we weren't allowed to watch a lot of TV. So I think I saw the Holy Grail and bits of the Ark of the Covenant at one point. But I am more interested in Harrison Ford when he plays Han Solo. I'm a Star Wars donkey. Although the recent Star Wars movies could use some help. Not the best. However, did anybody else see The Mandalorian? That is something my family collectively lost their minds over for a while. And they were amazed that I had actually seen it because they didn't think I was going to watch that. But I did. Necte Cortez said, I have 4 siblings, they crazy. Well, aren't all the best people? What is my favorite flower or plant? I actually really love blackberry bushes because they're strong and they defend themselves well. But if you take care of them and are careful with them, they can yield you a really beautiful crop, which is delicious in pies and jams and eaten raw and frozen and blended into smoothies. Blackberries are delicious. And I do happen to live on this giant property that goes all the way up a massive hill, and that entire property has blackberry bushes all over it. So I can have all the jam and pies and frozen blackberries and fresh ones that I want, given that I am willing to brave the thorns and go pick them. So those are my favorite plants. And Alexander says, I've never had a blackberry. I feel so bad for you. Please go to the grocery store and just buy yourself maybe some frozen blackberries and try them. Because they're delicious. They're like raspberries, only maybe a little bit tartar and a little bit bigger. Raspberries are a more delicate bush. Like, you have to actually breed them and water them. It's much more labor intensive than a blackberry, because a blackberry is wild and it grows absolutely out of your control. Like, my mom and dad more often than not end up hacking them to bits in order to make the four-wheeler trails that run all over the property and to keep people from getting hurt on them. Actually, there was one time recently where Kateri and I were going on a little bit of a hike in the backyard, and we were just walking around in the backyard. I wasn't looking where I was going. I was looking at the ground, trying to not get all the way ankle deep in mud, and a blackberry bush caught me right across the forehead. Yow! I Love Masky White says blackberry and cherry are good, and yes, they actually are. That is a delicious combo. But yeah, I had like a red welt running from one side of my forehead to the other from the blackberry bushes, but thankfully it did not hit my sweet baby girl who was right behind me in the backpack. Missed her completely. So you know what? If it hits me and misses her, I'm happy, because you do not understand what it's like when your baby is hurting. My family's the floor in my family's main living room is this really slippery wood. So more often than I care to admit, I've accidentally slide tackled it, as if I've fallen in really awkward positions. And at one point, I couldn't move my thumb because I landed right on it. And the other day, she ended up falling on that floor where her feet just slipped right out from under her, and she landed flat on her back, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs. And it was very hard to get her calmed down. And it was just painful to watch, because that's your daughter and she's hurting. Like, you'd rather fall yourself than have that happen to her. So it's like, yes. Any parent will tell you, if they can take the brunt of anything and spare their kid, they absolutely 100% will. And I'm betting the mothers and fathers in the audience, and even maybe the aunts and uncles, will back me up. Especially when they're tiny. That's actually another reason I don't like snakes particularly, is I am very scared of them getting her. Because she's walking around on the floor. She's walking around in the grass like not a care in the world. And I find snakes like within an inch of where she's putting her feet. That scares me. Like, I don't want anything to be biting her, getting its fangs into her, because that can be a very painful bite. I've had siblings bitten by snakes before. One of my sisters actually loves playing with snakes as a kid. She'll just go around on these big hiking trails and just pick up snakes in her hand and just walk around with them. And it's very awkward. Like, I am scared stiff by a lot of animals that my sisters love. So I try not to hike with them if I know they're going to be picking those things up. But back into some fandom news. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to be gushing about Hamilton some more. What kind of snake? Says I Love Masky White. Mostly just your garden variety snakes. We don't have anything poisonous here, but still, you don't want those around your small child. Particularly if they're in a mood to grab things, which my daughter usually is, because she's a very curious girl. If there are no more questions, I'm going to go back to Hamilton for a bit. So most of the musical is historically accurate if you go and watch it. I will not take everything in there with absolute 100% accuracy, because they did mess with a couple of things for the sake of just dramatic tension. I hate it when people do that. Mess with something that's perfectly fine for the sake of dramatic tension, especially if that's romantic dramatic tension. Oh my gosh, can we just not, please? I know, it's a pet peeve of mine. I do not like love triangles. The only love triangle I can ever get behind is actually more of a love square, but classic love triangle is from one of Shakespeare's plays because it's hilarious, and it is guy likes girl pretending to be a guy, likes guy who likes girl who likes girl pretending to be a guy. It's actually the basis of the movie She's the Man. So if you're not into Shakespeare but you would like to watch that storyline, go check out She's the Man. I'm not sure where you would find that. And Miss T. Banks made a comment about huckleberries. Those are actually really good for pies and smoothies, but they're not so good to be eaten raw. So if you want to go pick them and freeze them, those make a great treat all year long. Actually, our family is very big on getting things and then freezing them. Like, we have strawberries from last year still frozen in our freezer because we like to blend them up with smoothies and yogurt and drink them. That is a thing that we did all winter long, was make smoothies. My dad also makes a killer milkshake, but we don't have those quite as often because they're sweet. But we do, during blackberry season, we're out there every single day picking, especially my mom, because she knows how valuable that is to have fresh fruit like that. This year, though, it's going to be a bit difficult because we have had one of the most bizarre summers ever. It has been cold to the point where we're wearing like 3 layers and we have the heat on in the house. What the heck? Okay, through Rear and Gear, Washington, why is it so cold and rainy in the middle of July and June? We had maybe 1 month where it was very hot, and that was all the way back in April. And our summer's been like spring weather or fall weather, not summer, not what you would expect from here. But we're getting back into the nice weather, which is why we're in short sleeves finally. So we're back into what is proper summer weather. I Love Masky White said, I love Wicked. I hope you're referring to the musical, because I'm a fan of that musical too. I particularly love Defying Gravity and Popular, which are 2 songs from that musical. I actually did the song Popular in a small concert that was run by me and a couple of my friends. And a sister of mine recently did an audition for a musical using the song Defying Gravity from the musical Wicked. She got the best part. And Tina Garcia says she has to go, so goodbye. And many people are saying that they love that song, Defying Gravity in particular. It is very beautiful, but it is challenging to sing. Especially when you had to hit those really high notes in your chest voice. I would not attempt that song unless you had at least some training or were willing to shred your vocal cords for the sake of something really beautiful. I, in particular, cannot sing that song very well, because the last couple notes where you really have to be loud go into what I call my head voice. So most of the time when I have been singing for you guys, it's been in my chest voice, because I'm usually singing as a guy, also known as Izuku. So most of my singing that I've done for you guys has been in my chest voice. My head voice is much more like fluty and high and airy, so it's a much different sound than a chest voice, and you can definitely hear the difference as someone goes going between the two. Little lesson in vocalization for you, because I was trained in that for a couple of years, so I know all the crazy lingo. Although, if you are trained classically in singing, there is a lot you can accomplish. There's some high notes that you can hit that no one else can hit, and you can sound so really beautiful if you take care of your voice. And actually, that's kind of difficult because a lot of pop and country nowadays is sung by people who are not taking care of their voices, so they're gonna run out. I don't know does anybody in the crowd remember Julie Andrews? She played the main character in The Sound of Music. She actually destroyed her voice singing so much in her chest voice and singing in a way that hurt her that she actually had to almost get her vocal cords removed, and now she can barely talk. Like, I do not want that to happen to me. So I'm going to get my training, and I'm going to sing in such a way that is not going to hurt my vocal cords, because those those are too precious for me to damage. I know. You can actually do that, damage your vocal cords to the point where you can't speak or sing anymore. So please, people, if you're going to sing really loud and brassy and bold and awesome, please take care of your voice. Please. Also, screaming would definitely damage your vocal cords. Especially, very much, yes. Speaking of singing, would anybody like to hear me sing? Because everybody who has heard me sing in Canary has very much enjoyed it, and I would love to do that for you guys. So if at any time you would like me to sing for you, or sing a particular song that I might know from one of the aforementioned musicals, you can definitely just say something. All right. Would you guys like to hear me sing something from Hamilton or something from Wicked, if I'm going to be doing this? I can also sing basically almost any piece of Christian. And from Alexandra, we have Hamilton as the choice. So I think I'm going to sing some of Burn for you, because that is my favorite. And maybe after Burn, I can sing some of Popular, because those are two very different songs, but they're both so much fun. So here goes Burn. I saved every letter you wrote me. From the moment I saw you, I knew you were mine. You said you were mine. I thought you were mine. Do you know what Angelica said when I told her what you'd done? She said, you've married an Icarus. He has flown too close to the sun. You and your words flooded my senses. Your senses left me defenseless. You built me palaces out of paragraphs. You built cathedrals. I'm reading the letters you wrote me. I'm searching and scanning for answers in every line, for some kind of sign. And when you were mine, the world seemed to burn. You published the letters she wrote you. You told the whole world how you brought this girl into our bed. In clearing your name, you've ruined our lives. Do you know what Angelica said when she read what you've done? She said, you've married an Icarus. He has flown too close to the sun. All right, and I'm going to stop there. So, as well as being fabulous, that song also, I also went from my head voice in the beginning where she's reminiscing and remembering, and it's so beautiful, to the end. It's very accusatory, and I started to use my chest voice to give it more boldness and more, if that makes any sense. So, from Wicked, would you guys like me to sing Popular, which I am more familiar with, which is actually, I'm going to sing Popular because Defying Gravity is too difficult for me, especially after I just finished Burn, which is difficult. Whenever I see someone less fortunate than I, and let's face it, who isn't less fortunate than I, my tender heart tends to start to bleed. And when someone needs a makeover, I simply have to take over. I know exactly what they need. And even in your case, though it's the toughest case I've yet to face, don't worry, I'm determined to succeed. Follow my lead, and yes, indeed, you will be popular. You're gonna be popular. I'll teach you the proper place when you talk to boys. Little ways to flirt and flounce. I'll show you what shoes to wear, how to fix your hair. Everything that really counts to be popular. I'll help you be popular. It's not about aptitude, it's the way you're viewed. So it's very shrewd to be very, very popular like me. So those are two very different songs from two very different musicals, but they are both a lot of fun and both very interesting. Fun fact, the person who plays the main character in Wicked, Idina Menzel, is also Elsa from Frozen, which if you listen to Defying Gravity, Let It Go, and Into the Unknown from Frozen 2, you will be able to tell it is the same person singing because it's the same gorgeous vocals. She is amazing. I look up to her on several different levels because she's able to play some incredibly complex characters who I have a big resonance with due to, like, for instance, the main character in Wicked is born with green skin, so a lot of people judge her immediately based on that. Whereas I was born with Asperger's, so a lot of times I am also judged based on that. And Elsa also is born with a power that she can't control and she has to learn how to control. Same thing over here, and not just with Asperger's, and also with my voice, because I could just sing big, bold, and brassy and have my vocal cords give out, or I could actually learn how to use that and make some really beautiful music. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed my short renditions of those two musical songs, and I will also try and look for some more stuff that has singing in it. And my dad has snuck out here and is watching me, so...
I'm just taking a picture.
Dad, stop it! My dad, he's so funny. Like, what is he doing? I'm trying to do something professional and he's wanting to take a picture of me. And Falcon Chan has suggested something from Assassination Classroom. I have actually looked at that. I have actually seen that. So maybe I will check that out. I have not read a lot of fan fiction out of that fandom, but I may go and take another look. Because honestly, I'm kind of running out of things to read because I've read most of the good things from fandoms that I already know. It's like, once you've gotten all the good stuff, nothing else really meets quite the same bar. Which is also why I'm having trouble finding decent Harry Potter stories to read, because a lot of the good ones I've already done. Because you guys ask for it a lot. And thank you, Falcon Chan. He or she has said, I love your voice. And whether that is my reading voice or my singing voice or my different character voices, thank you. Because they're all my voice. I have a beef with people who say they can't sing. The thing is, everybody can sing. Every single human voice is capable of it. Even if you are tone deaf or you can't carry a tune. Everybody can sing. The biggest thing is people don't have the confidence to actually let loose with their vocal cords. So, everybody can sing. I'm just saying that right now. Because I find it so exasperating when people say they cannot sing. Of course, coming from someone who has a nice voice, that can sometimes sound hypocritical for people who do not have very nice voices. But thank you guys all for tuning in today. I probably won't do another one of these for a while, seeing as I've got nothing new going on, and I tend to usually do these when I have some big piece of news or something to show you. So thank you all for logging on so much, and I hope you all keep listening. Also, please go and support me on Patreon. I have linked it in the community section, and it's up on my profile page if you want to go check it out and help support me so that I don't have to go back to a full-time job and I can keep giving you all those wonderful stories. So, bye.